All right, good afternoon. I'm going to call to order the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole for August 5th, 2026. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Ray, Chair Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler, Commissioner DeLue,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Here.
Commissioner Mazer.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. I did hear from Commissioner Wheeler, and she will not be able to be with us this evening. She is not feeling well, so we wish her all of the best. Ringing is me. Okay. Thank you. With that, we're going to move to public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any topic. You have up to 3 minutes. Once you are recognized, please share your name and where you're from. Go ahead. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Britton, and as you may remember, I serve as Public Policy Manager at YWCA Kalamazoo. Each year, YWCA Kalamazoo serves hundreds of individuals and families across our community who are fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and other forms of abuse. Every day, we witness the consequences of disinvestment in our community. When people experience economic instability, housing insecurity, food insecurity, barriers to healthcare, and systemic oppression, the impacts ripple outwards. Families become less safe, and our entire community bears the cost. This year, we are seeing those consequences reflected in our own data. Compared to the first quarter of 2025, the first quarter of 2026 saw a 137% increase in survivors experiencing homelessness due to domestic violence. During that same period, reports of domestic violence strangulation, a significant predictor of future homicide, increased by 215%. We also saw a 31% increase in survivors hospitalized with severe injuries resulting from domestic violence. These are not only statistics. They represent our neighbors, coworkers, friends, and our family members experiencing escalating violence in increasingly dangerous situations. At the very moment that severity and lethality of domestic violence are rising, victim service providers across the country are facing significant funding challenges. These funds have been steadily declining, leaving organizations like ours with growing needs and shrinking resources. For the past 2 years, YWCA Kalamazoo has worked tirelessly in our pursuit of sustainable state funding. This year, our policy team met with 24 Michigan legislators from both sides of the aisle to advocate for investments in victim services. Despite those efforts, dedicated state funding for YWCA Kalamazoo was not included in the final budget. The reality is simple. The services YWCA Kalamazoo provides cannot be replaced. We offer emergency shelter, crisis intervention, legal advocacy, counseling, housing support, and prevention education that survivors rely on every day. Without these services, many survivors would have nowhere to turn. We also know that the longer someone remains with an abusive partner because they lack safe options, the greater their risk of serious injury or death at the hands of their abuser. As you begin discussions on the fiscal year 2027 county budget, we respectfully ask you to consider including $500,000 in funding for YWCA Kalamazoo. These funds will directly support the victim services programming that survivors rely on the most in their time of need. Local investment can help ensure that survivors continue to have access to life-saving services, even as federal and state funding becomes increasingly uncertain. Thank you for your time, leadership, and commitment to the well-being of Kalamazoo County. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome.
Hello.
There goes the Oscar music. There you go. Welcome.
Oh, I didn't know I had a welcome.
Welcome to you.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Meredith Place. I'm the Kalamazoo County Clerk and Register of Deeds. I just wanted to take a few minutes to provide a brief report on the August 4th primary election and most importantly, recognize the extraordinary work of the people who made the election possible. While Election Day is what the public sees, administering an election to this scale begins months in advance. The election required an enormous amount of planning, coordination, and teamwork across Kalamazoo County government. Our election staff coordinated early voting across the county. We recruited, hired, trained, scheduled, managed hundreds of early voting election inspectors, conducted extensive training of voting equipment, provided more than 20 hours of training for election officials and inspectors. We worked alongside every local clerk in Kalamazoo County to prepare for Election Day. It was truly a county-wide effort. We partnered closely with county communications to keep voters informed and educated on the ways to cast their ballot. We worked with the sheriff's office to help ensure the safety and security of election operations, emergency management to coordinate planning and response, IT to support the technology that powered the early voting locations, and buildings and grounds to ensure the administration building remained accessible throughout the election period. Every one of these departments played an important role in delivering a successful election, and I want to thank them for their partnership. And the work didn't stop when the polls closed. Members of our county elections team were still here until 2:30 in the morning, ensuring every ballot was accounted for, every jurisdiction had the support they needed, and unofficial results were reported accurately. Because of the preparation, Kalamazoo County successfully administered an election with 67,851 ballots cast. That represents over 36% turnout, the highest turnout of the past 3 August primaries. That's nearly 18,800 more ballots than the August 2024 primary and almost 14,800 more than August 2022. Approximately 60% of the ballots were cast through absentee or early voting, demonstrating that voters continue to embrace the expanded voting options available to them. Election Day presented an unexpected challenge across the state of Michigan. Clerks experienced issues with the statewide Qualified Voter File, or QVF system. Those issues were outside the control of county jurisdictions. But thanks to the preparation, professionalism, and dedication of our local clerks and election inspectors across the county, established contingency procedures were implemented immediately and voting continued. The biggest takeaway from this election is not simply the turnout, it's the people behind it. Historic turnout doesn't happen by accident. Secure, accurate, and accessible elections don't happen by accident. They happen because of dedicated public servants who spend months preparing, training extensively, solving problems in real time, and work long hours to serve the voters of our community. I also want to recognize our 19 local clerks and their teams. They are on the front lines of election administration in all of our communities, and this election once again demonstrated their professionalism and commitment to serving voters. Their partnership with county elections team is essential for a successful election. As conversations continue in the days ahead, I want to remind everyone that the small technical issue affecting election administration system in this election are not the same issues affecting election integrity. Our election officials followed Michigan law, followed established procedures, and successfully administered a secure and accurate election, despite historic turnout and an unforeseen challenge. One final point, while Election Day is behind us, our work is not finished. Beginning tomorrow, the Board of County Canvassers will begin the official canvass of this election. Over the coming days, the canvass see above all else. I want to thank our county canvassers, our local clerks, and the hundreds of election inspectors who served our department that supported this election, and the dedicated employees of the County Elections Division. This election was a tremendous success because of their work. They coordinated a countywide early voting operation, prepared for historic turnout, adapted to unexpected challenges, and worked late into the night to ensure every voter was served and every ballot was counted accurately. I hope this board will join me in recognizing their extraordinary professionalism and dedication to public service. Kalamazoo County should be proud of what this team has accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Place. And with board's discretion, we went on beyond our 3-minute time, but we definitely wanted to recognize and hear from you about the important work that your team has done. And in the future, let's just schedule an agenda item for you after elections, so we'll have time to talk and you can present your work. And thank you to you, the team, and to all of our local election officials. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment? Well,
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Willa Toronto. I'm your Deputy Housing Director. And this is for Commissioner Gisler, who asked that we introduce the newest member of our Housing Department. So I have Eric Oliphant with me tonight. He is our Data and Systems Integration Specialist. Quite a mouthful there for that title. He's been with He's been with us for about a month and is already doing amazing work to gather data, look at all of our various systems across the county. So we're really excited to have him, and I just wanted to allow him to introduce himself really quick.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here in the county. And the joke I came up with is I waited so long to introduce myself to you until after the election so I could say either congratulations or I'm so sorry, whatever's the most favorable for my reputation to you. But congrats, and also thank you.
welcome to you. Thank you very much. Welcome. Welcome.
Sorry, I thought she was going to say something. My name is Zachary Lasser. I live in the city, Kalamazoo. I was looking through various subcommittee or commissions that you guys appoint to's minutes today, coming up with something I sent to you guys. And I noticed a lot of those subcommissions don't publish their minutes. And I think that's something that with your guys' bylaw changes that you're looking at, potentially requiring those boards you appoint to publish their minutes, if that's possible. I'm not sure. And then also for the jokester, none of these people ran for anything. So I guess congratulations, because they have to deal with it. The other thing is parking sucks right now. If I wouldn't have had to double park with a commissioner, there'd probably be someone still circling trying to find a parking spot, because it really sucks right now out there. And I'll turn it off for you.
Thank you. I also want to recognize Commissioner Morales has joined the session. Welcome to you. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to make a public comment? All right. Then we'll move to item 3, review of accounts payable and payroll disbursements, and we'll welcome our finance director, Mr. Ryan Post. Welcome on down.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Board of Commissioners. This evening, we have an accounts payable claims list totaling $8,245,136.22 as presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners is asked to approve claims totaling $6,304,422.62. Payroll disbursements totaling $4,738,305.68 are presented for the July 31st elected and general payrolls. With that said, we welcome any questions.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions from the Commission? We have none this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move to item 4. This is our Medical Examiner 2025 Annual Report Presentation. And we'll welcome Patrick Hensma, our medical director. Good evening. Welcome to you.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, so yeah, the medical examiner's office is pleased to be here again this year, and you have before you a hard copy of our report. In years past, we've given you the complete annual report out of our office. You have before you just Kalamazoo County's data this year. That full report is on our website, super easy to find if you just Google it. WMed Medical Examiner 2025 Annual Report, and you can compare your data to the other county's data and see other things going on within the Office of the Medical Examiner. But I will just walk you through the data as it is before you. On that first page, you have the kind of overall table of going down that right column, which is 2025, showing the total number of deaths in Kalamazoo County, 3,258. And then right below that, you see approximately a third of those were reported to the medical examiner's office, with 922 of them requiring investigation by our office. And 754 of them are investigators responded to the death scene to further investigate. And of those, 457, we took jurisdiction of the death certificate to issue that. 368 bodies transported to WMed and 138 requiring complete autopsies, with another approximately 130 getting limited autopsies versus external examinations. And then jumping down, if you just look down that, you'll see the number 593 in that same table. That's the number of referrals to Gift of Life. It was 302 last year, 593 this year. So we have done heroic efforts to make sure that everything that can be reported to Gift of Life is being reported, and that is opening doors for procurement. So right below it, you see the number of tissue donations accomplished doubled from the year before because of this. So that's good. On the bottom number in that table, the bottom non-zero is 63. That is the total number of unclaimed investigations. These are decedents that are going unclaimed with no one to take authority for disposition of that body. So that remains unfortunately high in all of our counties and is keeping our deputy investigators extremely busy, which is kind of tragic. Below that, you see the cremation permit authorizations that our office does, and if you just scan right across that bottom row, you see the number just continues to climb.
Can I just inquire?
Yes, of course.
Is there any particular pattern or demographic that stands out among those who are unclaimed from investigations? Is it, is there a particular population? Are they folks who are unhoused, or seniors, or enlighten me, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll be honest, I can't enlighten you on it. I don't have the particulars on it. It's something we could probably tap into, though. I think it would be, as I just think through our case management software, I bet it's something that we probably could mine that and figure it out. So I'm going to make a note of that and see if we can.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So flipping over to the next page is the top there. Actually, both of them, both in chart and graph form, you just see the total manners of death in Kalamazoo County. And reading down from that top right corner, 866 natural deaths. Most deaths are natural, thankfully. And then accident is always the second most common, which we'll see further broken down later. And then suicides and homicides remain stable from last year, being 16 in the county for each. And then a slight bump in the number that were categorized as indeterminate, which really just means that we weren't able to pigeonhole it into one of the other categories on the death certificate. On the next page, you see the deaths reported by age, and instead of reading down the right column, now you're looking across that bottom row, 2025 data. On the bottom left corner of that, you see the number 10 there, so double the number of infant deaths from the year prior, which is unfortunate. It is commensurate with preceding years, of looking back a few years, so it's not an alarming number for this population, but it is a bump from last year. And then because of that, total pediatric deaths in Kalamazoo did experience a slight bump. These are broken down for you in the pediatric population there for the types of deaths that were identified. Was there a question? Oh, no question. Unsafe sleep situations continue to be a problematic situation, of course, in all our counties and across the nation. And so that is several of those here, as well as accidental deaths, both in adults and pediatric populations. So drowning deaths, motor vehicle collisions. There was one infant that was a diphenhydramine toxicity homicide, quite regrettably. And then on the next page, the older pediatric population, ages 6 through 17. In that teenage range, there was also one pediatric gunshot wound homicide. So again, largely accidentals, but there were homicides in the pediatric cases as well, unfortunately. And then the infant deaths in that middle table, 2025, we certified 10 and we autopsied 10. So those certifications are done with a very high degree of accuracy because they were complete investigations, complete autopsies. So unfortunately, a number of them are certified out as undetermined with a manner of indeterminate. These tend to be the deaths that are in potentially unsafe sleep situations, but we can't prove that an asphyxial component truly occurred in the course of bed sharing with a sleeping adult, for example. So they're certified with as high a degree of accuracy as we can get in those. Below that, you see the accidental deaths broken down. And again, now you're reading down the right-hand column for 2025. Motor vehicles, drug-related deaths, and falls, mostly falls in the elder, recovering. Those are by and away the most common accidental deaths. Others do occur, environmental exposures, fire deaths, all tabulated for you there. And then on the next page, you have the drug-related fatalities. So that is largely accidental. Top right corner, 48 accidental drug-related fatalities, 11 suicides, 2 homicidal drug-related fatalities, and then 3 indeterminate. This is usually a situation where we don't know if a person was returning to their drug of choice for recreational purpose, ideation, and carried it out using their drug of choice. So a few of them always kind of land in the indeterminate category, unfortunately. And then at the bottom, the suicides by age. Fortunately, no pediatric suicides in 2025, reading across that bottom. So that at least is encouraging in a statistic that is never encouraging. It is distributed across adults and kind of shows the same distribution that it has been for the last 10 years. Kind of the peaks up in the middle age to elderly. And then the last page, suicides by mechanism, the top right corners, 2025, showing firearms and hangings being the most common, and then drug intoxication had a little bit of a bump from the year prior where there were only 6, and this year there were 11 suicidal drug intoxications. And below that is the last table, the homicides by mechanisms. Obviously, gun violence continues to be a major concern across the country and is no different, unfortunately, here in Kalamazoo. And so in our homicides, firearms always lead the top. So that is your data. I'm happy to take any questions on that or anything else.
Commissioner DeLu.
Well, first of all, it's hard to sit through this.
Yeah.
Death and destruction, but I appreciate it. Under the environmental exposure deaths, is that all related to the cold, or what else would that entail?
It can also contain hyperthermia deaths, so heat exhaustion may be accounted for in there as well. I don't have it further tabulated in this report, but we can get you that if you would like a breakdown of it. But it's usually hypo and hyperthermia most of the time.
Commissioner Gisler.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 questions. One, it seems to me, as I recall, 5 years ago or so, 17 counties anchored at Kalamazoo. And it looks like maybe that we're down a little bit by that. That's probably a good thing because you were spread really broadly. Have other counties now taken on that role, or am I mistaken about 17 and now it looks like 13?
Well, it has not been 17 in my time here. You said it was 5 or so years ago,
Yeah.
and I've been at WMed for 4. So it was 13 all the way up until last year when we acquired a 14th. John, do you have did we have a higher number at WMed? Not quite that high.
14 is our high, and that's what we are right now.
Mm-hmm. But we are spread pretty thin. There's no denying that. It is a buyer's market for forensic pathologists right now. There are not enough of us, and there are jobs everywhere. We just had 2 of our docs recruited away, and we're actively trying to recruit 2 in. So it is a constant battle to recruit and retain forensic pathologists because they can go anywhere in the world right now. If you're not tied to a community because your kids are in school there, they're all shopping.
Yeah. My last question is, I had a chance twice in the time I've been a county commissioner to tour your facility. I was always a sucker for Quincy, Medicine Man, or whatever. And, it was wonderful. Joyce did a super job of showing everything that goes on there in an hour, hour and a half. Is that still available if I were to contact your office?
100%. Every one of you can come. Please do so. We would love to take you on a tour of the facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other additional questions? Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. I just want to say, oddly, this is always my favorite report, and I can't wait to look at the full report so I can compare. And then I have a weird question. I feel like it's weird, and I don't know if I should ask it, but with the unclaimed people, what do you do to kind of get the word out so folks know that there's some folks here that might be your cousin?
Yeah, it's a very detailed process to enter the unclaimed category. And so we work with law enforcement that were on scene. We work with anybody who knew this person, and whether you were in the neighboring apartment or whatever, saying, do you know next of kin? Do you have any leads at all? And we have subscription service investigative software that we can use as well for identifying people, where we can find leads for old addresses and phone numbers. And we have to exhaust all of that before a person becomes officially unclaimed category. The state has a pretty streamlined process for making sure that cremation can occur, and that becomes their final disposition. But we basically are beating the bushes, looking for anybody through any avenue available to us to try and find somebody that is capable of claiming that deceit. It's really all hands on deck.
Okay. And then I have one additional question. I was going to lift up the double in the number of infant deaths, but you did a really good job at highlighting that. So just also wondering, why aren't all deaths reported to the medical examiner's office?
Most deaths in this country, because of our access to care, thankfully, are medically attended natural deaths. Most people make it to a hospital, or they're in a hospice facility and they're dying a natural death, and an attending physician saw them and could confirm that is a natural death, and therefore it does not need to be reported to us. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask, again, this is some demographic question you may not be able to answer now, but related to suicide, I'm just wondering if you have data to identify the gender breakdown across folks who engaged in an act of suicide.
I don't have hard numbers for you. My casual observation, it tends to skew towards male.
Yes. Yeah. As I would have assumed to hear from you. I appreciate that. If you do follow up on the other information about our, unclaimed individuals, I just like to see how wide that spread is.
Absolutely.
And as we talked, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It looked like there was a follow-up question.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Commissioner Ray.
Just wanted to know who pays for those cremations.
For the cremations for the unclaimed, yeah, it is a state-funded process where if that person had any assets when they entered the unclaimed process, and John, correct me on this if I'm wrong, that if they have assets, the state liquidates those assets to partially offset the cost for the entire program. So someone who dies with no assets at all, the funds that are allocated essentially through tax dollars are covering that, whereas somebody who dies unclaimed and they own a house, the state liquidates that house to help offset the cost incurred to the taxpayer. Yes.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Ray. So just general comments again, just thank you to you for your work, the team at the medical examiner's office. each of these statistics that we, heard about and reviewed today was a living person in our community with a life and a story and a community that they impacted. And so just your interface with folks at this time in their life, treating them with dignity as their final circumstances are reviewed, and that how medical examination is it's a preventative medicine. This helps us see the trends that are occurring in the community, help us to drive better policy decisions to create longevity for people in our community. So I just want us all to reflect and pause on the profound nature of this information, of your work, and express our gratitude.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's easy to lose that fact in data, that these were live people, and there are live people who are grieving them. And it's important to always keep us recentered on this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, too. Sure. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Really quick, I've noticed that the cremation permit authorizations have steadily increased, and it looks like they've steadily increased across the country.
Yes.
Google. Does that have anything to do with how life insurance payments are paid out, or why is that?
Not that I'm aware of on the life insurance component. Again, dealing with the unclaims, a portion of those are accounted for by people who do have next of kin, and those next of kin are reporting they cannot afford to claim that body and do the funeral services. It's my understanding, I'm not a funeral director, but it's my understanding that cremation is the more economic option. So if you can claim, it will be more cost effective to go that route rather than purchasing a burial plot and all of that in a public or private cemetery. Again, I'm not a funeral director, so take that with a little bit of grain of salt, but that's the beat I have.
The cost.
Oh, okay. Well, you know better than I do.
And there, about 5 or 6 years ago, they changed the way that life insurance paid out. They don't pay out immediately. It takes 2 to 6 months for them to pay out. So a lot of the time when people pass, they're expecting their life insurance to cover their burial. That changed about 3 or 4 years ago. I was just wondering if that had an effect on the increase.
Yeah, I knew that there were changes to life insurance payout, but I did not connect those dots, and it's a good observation. You may be onto something there. That might be it.
I'll speak to that, recent experience with my mother's passing, that the funeral home was able to wait for the payment, even though they know there's a policy in place but I'm sure it's a time of duress for families. They're working to make decisions quickly. So just FYI on that. Commissioner Gissler.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have one question concerning, do you ever get visitors, so to speak, or bodies from the state of Indiana? I think I recall, and I'm getting old enough now, I may be not exactly right on this, but I thought somebody was sent in from the South Bend area.
Yes.
And it had been declared by some local physician natural cause or something. And when you guys did just a preliminary analysis, it was found to be riddled with 6 bullets. And they suggested maybe that they needed to check that out again in South Bend.
That individual case might have been before my time at WMed, but yes, we do have contracts in place with 2 coroners in Indiana counties that send us cases with their medical examiners, not a forensic pathologist, and so when they need an autopsy, they send those cases to us to obtain that. So yes, we actually have pretty constant, I hate to say the word flow, but a flow of bodies across that border, from Indiana. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Good. Thank you for your time with us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you. All right. We'll move to item 5. We have a ARPA awards status update shared with us by administration. Deputy County Administrator Cole.
Chair, members of the board, thank you so much. This report comes by way of Dr. Catlin. And in the report in the bar, you will see that the reconciliation has yielded some pertinent information around projects that were awarded with funds that are left over to reallocate by this body. We can go into the particulars of particular programs if you would wish, but the bottom line number is that this board would start with 300,000 550 and 54 cents. This is with some updated information from community group. So that is an updated total. It's different than what's in your packet. And with that amount available for reallocation, there is a request from the Office of the Prosecutor to reallocate his leftover funds for a one-time retention payment to attorneys. So if you were to approve that request, the amount would be $162,658 and 62,658 and 60.
Administrator, do you know what is the specific retention payment per employee that the prosecutor would be able to?
I do not have that detail, but we can certainly get that. And then as part of the analysis, Dr. Callan has a recommendation that those reallocations of funds should prioritize the internal projects, particularly those addressing capital repairs replacements, such as the administration of storefront, elevator repairs, considering the county self-insured and will be responsible for the financial burden regardless. Additionally, the OPA balance can be leveraged to support the paternity established payments that the county is obligated to pay if the board should decide not to reallocate the total available balance to address the capital maintenance work.
And so Dr. Catlin's recommendation for the total being moved to capital assets and or capital assets and paternity payments would be the recommendation.
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you so much. Questions, Commissioner DeLille?
No, just comment. I support the prosecutor's request to allocate some of his leftover funding to his employees for a couple of reasons. It was $1,000 to $4,000 per employee, is what the report I read. And secondly, we've discussed the prosecutor's office overworked, underpaid, and I think we're talking about a huge increase in funding for IDF, and it seems like all they had to do was ask for $3 million more than they're getting it from what I'm reading. So I'm not saying they're in competition with the prosecutor's office, but we need to keep our employees, especially at the prosecutor's office. So I do support his request for his money that he had initially anyway. He's not requesting additional funding. So I would like to see that approved.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
What was the initial ARPA from the prosecutor's office? That leftover money, what was it? The initial one?
Here it is. This was for victim advocates, and the original award was $417,000.
Okay, I'm kind of stuck in the middle here. The prosecutor's office is overworked and underpaid. We get into the process of reallocating those ARPA dollars. That's where I'd rather us look in the general fund and try to figure out a way to do that. Whereas the ARPA dollars, we before I even got here, we set up these commissioner groups that allocated these pots of money and designated these dollars to go to certain spots. And there were a lot of people that did not get dollars. There were a lot of people that missed out on that. And when somebody doesn't use all of their money, do they get to use it for a different project that didn't go through that vetting process? Now, that being said, we don't have the time to do a vetting process. It's use it or lose it by the end of the year. I'm kind of a little bit, I be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about the reallocation into the prosecutor's office. I don't like the process, but I like the result. That's about the best way I can describe it. But I'm not going to let, as I always say, I'm not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So, I mean, the prosecutor's office needs it. I just don't like it the way that you're reallocating stuff that was supposed to be used for that and then reallocating with the department. I got to get over that, I suppose. And then my second question had to deal with the internal. I do agree that any leftover ARPA dollars after that should be used for internal projects to offset our operational costs. I think that makes sense. You talked about the door and the front. We've already allocated money for that front door, correct?
There's some money that's towards that, but this would offset. So we would be able to use the ARPA money one time as opposed to already existing internal funds.
Okay. Well, I won't get into the timeline of that now, but yeah, I guess we got some stuff to think about. I just don't like the process. I don't like a department using ARPA dollars, using 80% of those ARPA dollars, and then swinging the 20% into another project that was never vetted by the original committees. So that's why I have a problem with that. On the other side, I know that the prosecutor's office, comparatively, is underpaid and overworked. So I'm just going to have to think about that for a little bit. But I see both sides of that coin.
Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. I have the same sentiments. Before you got here, we had these conversations about folks not using the money that we vetted for where it was supposed to go. So I would say find it in the budget, and if that money could cover the door, I'd rather use it for what it can cover as opposed to delegating it to that. So I stand firm on not using that money that was dedicated to another project for the salary, and we should be able to find that money to cover. You said 1 to 4,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with the comments from Vice Chair as far as reallocating the funding for something else that was never the original intent. And I have a question. Did the prosecutor's office also receive those bonuses that we gave out to all county employees back 2-3 years ago? Okay. Okay. IDF stood for it, but now I do. And then did we check? So then there was a position at the juvenile home that was ARPA funded that is scheduled to end October, I think. And there's some funds I see left over from the circuit court. Have we checked into whether or not those remaining funds can to the end of the year?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I do need to close the loop with a discussion with the court. In emails, however, this process is not in alignment with their priorities. So it is not their focus at this time, but I'd like to have a complete discussion on that.
All right. So I want to, express agreement. The difficulty that we have with meeting a need through an irregular process is that we then validate the use of irregular process. So one of the struggles, and we've seen other examples of this, what it does is just incentivizes departments to overestimate a budget for an item. So then they have those dollars in their hand and feel like they can then reallocate them to whatever they would like. And while meeting the priorities of a department are something the board wants to endeavor to accomplish, we just need to have a direct dialogue around that at the time of fund allocations. I don't know if administrator will be able to speak to this, but my understanding too is that funding for victim advocates that this initial ARPA award was slated for is reduced in the upcoming state budget. And so we're going to see a shortfall for victim advocate funding in the prosecutor's office. And so I don't know if the prosecutor has endeavored an analysis of that. We have victim advocate services that occur in the prosecutor's office and also through the YWCA locally. And communications that have come to me is that there's significant funding cuts for victim advocates. Again, this is a service that ensures that you have a cooperative witness who's willing and able emotionally, they've got the support around them so they can come forward through the legal process to ensure that they receive justice as a victim of crime. So that's another thing that I would think through. I also support a retention payment, but bringing it through the budget process for us to identify the way to do that appropriately, and then a quick deployment onto capital needs. We shouldn't look like a robbed storefront outside. We need to clean that up, right? Would be good. Commissioner Duluth.
I don't want to speak for anybody, but I look at this as the prosecutor was being creative in the fact that he had some leftover money. It'd be a great way to help the employees. And when you say, well, we could take it out of the general fund, it almost sounds like, well, why didn't he just come and ask and we would give it to him? And I don't think that's the case. I don't think if he just came in here and said, I want some retention money for my employees, the board would say, okay, we'll find it in the general fund. But the fact that he's wants to use money that he's already been allocated, now maybe for a different project, but it still was allocated to him, I think he's being creative, and it's a good way for a retention bonus without coming to the board and saying, why wouldn't any department come in and say, well, just take it out of the general fund, and because it's not there, but it is here with this money, and that's why I think it's a good use of the money.
I see Vice Chair and then Commissioner Morello.
Yeah, if I don't vote for this to come out of ARPA, I will, knowing what's going on in the prosecutor's office and the overworked and underpaid, I'll be supporting it in the budget process, one way or the other. I just don't like this process of how they're doing it. Now, that being said, and I hate to say that, we did a Siegel study about 5 years ago, and we're still dealing with the mess. I mean, I don't think the Siegel study put us in a better shape. We missed step increases 1 year when we've done a lot of different things. I almost think that we need to start looking at a different type of analysis of what we're paying our employees. And for the love, let's not use Siegel. That was a mess, and we're still dealing with it.
Commissioner Morales.
Well, thank you for highlighting my point on how I dislike studies. We've been saying that for years, so thank you. Maybe they'll listen to you and will not use studies. Delu, I feel your sentiments. I think it's about policy and what we do, because we have other folks that come in, and we've had it in the last couple of months, from housing to the sheriff's office, to try and move in a different direction of what their money was meant for. And I think we just create a circle of madness when we do that, because it'll be, you did it for the prosecutors, and then what we're going to say, oh, they really needed it at that time, they're overworked. And I believe they're overworked. I mean, we just had Rogers in here talking about we need new judges. So I just feel we can find, now that he did, to your point, he didn't come up, but he did it through this, and now our eyes are open. So I think, as Vice Chair said, we'll be able to find the money. It just won't be this way, because I don't want to deal with this in the future. If I am still blessed to be here where we got to make a decision like this, and this comes up as you did it before.
All right, thank you. Is there any further? Yes, Administrator.
And just for context, as the board deliberates, and I'll provide additional information with this decision. Also, the transition for the paternity establishment, that did also generate a new cost to the county so annually about $850,000. So this would help offset the the current cost as we transition to absorbing that new cost for that being processed by the state. So just for context of Dr. Catlin's recommendation.
Yeah. And so that's an 850, 50, I'm sorry. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the paternity establishment goes, for year 3, which is October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026, the amount that the county owes is $847,784.52. That is of a total amount for the program, which is $6,437,908. That can be broken down that of those costs, the county pays 34% of. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we want to entertain a motion at this time? Is that what's needed from administration?
Yes, Madam Chair.
I'd entertain. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Chair,
Vice Chair Pro Tem?
I believe Commissioner Duluth did make a motion. It just wasn't supported.
Make a motion.
He didn't make a motion.
It sounded like one.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're advocating. Yep. Commissioner Duluth?
I'll make a motion. In reference to the leftover ARPA fund, I would like to make a motion that we honor the request of the prosecutor's office, and the rest of the money goes to the administration, the capital improvement.
All right, motion is made by Commissioner Duluth, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, to honor the request of the prosecutor to allocate $162,000 for employee retention payments, with the balance of usable ARPA funds to be moved to capital needs. Is there further discussion? Vice Chair.
If this motion fails, I will be making a motion that we put the 160 inside the general fund, and we do it that way. Because I do think the money has to get to the prosecutor's office. I just don't like this process. So if this does fail, I'll be making a motion immediately after.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes, this is unrelated actually to the motion, but I'll hopefully be able to support what Tammy. That's indeed a part of our law enforcement courts and everything else that we have to have in place by the state and the federal constitution. And I can't remember any time that I've been a commissioner, and I was first elected in 2010, that the juvenile home wasn't underfunded and overworked. So I would like to think that as we proceed with the budgeting process and get into it, that you've got an ally in me, Tammy, when it comes to the juvenile home. That's a last chance to get some people that are going to wind up doing hard time and who knows what else over the years. And if you can nip them then, I feel that's money well spent. Thank you.
I love it when we have that Gisler-Ray alignment. That's good stuff there. I love that.
It all have to be said together.
You see that? Making friends, making positive changes. All right, we have a motion. Seeing no further discussion, Clerk, will you please call a roll?
Commissioner Mazer?
Yes.
Commissioner Morales?
No.
Commissioner Ray?
No.
Chair Strebs?
No.
Vice Chair Taylor?
No.
Commissioner Wheeler? Commissioner DeLue?
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
4 yes.
4 nails, yeah.
Vice Chair. I'm sorry, that motion fails. Vice Chair.
I would like to make a motion that we ask administration to. I would like to make a motion that we ask administration to include in the 2027 budget $162,000 to honor the prosecutor's request for employee retention.
There's a motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Mazer, to allocate $162,000 from the general fund for prosecutor's office retention payments. Discussion. All right, I would articulate here, again, I support these retention payments, but I would prefer it go through the budget process. And so we are in the midget, my goodness, that came out. We are in the middle of our budget deliberations and identifying priorities. I would like to see, the prosecutor to advance this as a top priority for the office and for us to engage in it through that established process. Commissioner Duluth?
Since we're under discussion, I guess I'll kind of reiterate what I tried to say earlier. I think my concern now is if I was a department head, I'd be coming in here making the same request. So this is something we're going to have to face if we pass this motion. So.
Thank you. And just to that, I think that would be in order to do that. That's how folks are supposed to come for needs for their department to the board, and for us to then see all of the needs and weigh out the ones that we think advance with the top priority when they're set against the rest of the items that come to us, because all of the needs that will get presented to us are valid needs. All of them are needs departments have that are needed to provide better service or retention or whatever it is. And so it's really only when we weigh them all together that I think we make the best decisions. Vice Chair.
And I will expound upon that, Commissioner DeLue. I think if we are looking at very low cost of living increases for our employees, the next cheapest option to do that would be one-time bonus payments, because it doesn't raise their salary over a long period of time. So that may be in order.
Commissioner Morales.
I'll yield to Deputy Cole. He's had to say.
Thank you, Administrator.
Thank you, Chair, Board. Just attempting to get some clarity on the process here. Is this a new funding request on behalf of the prosecutor, or is this now reflected in the board's priorities for the golden ratio?
Thank you for that clarifying question, Vice Chair. I would say that it's reflected in the board's priorities over the budget process. Whether it comes from the golden ratio or whether it comes from reduction in other departments or reductions in other things, I think once we get that recommended budget, every commissioner needs to sit down and look at it thoroughly and come up with solutions of how we get there. Because it's going to be really easy to say, as Chair Streb said, there's a need here, there's a need here, there's a need here. We've got to find where there's a lesser need within that budget. And quite frankly, that's our charge. That's our charge as elected officials. We're fiduciary agents of the taxpayers of Kalamazoo County. And we look at that budget as what is our priorities. So whether it comes from the golden ratio or whether it comes from hopefully there'll be a lot of robust discussion amongst this board and administration on those ideas. That's what I'm hoping for.
Just to clarify for board awareness, after the end of our audit, the amount of money that's identified for board priorities through the golden ratio, what is that total amount at this time? And we would be here endeavoring to potentially allocate $162,000 of that before considering other. Vice Chair is saying 1.9. Is that accurate? Thank you, Deputy Cole.
Yes, the board priority amount is $1,489,458.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Morales.
So I feel like this is a catch-22 now, Delu, with they're always going to circle back. My second question is, and I can't remember who just mentioned it, like he didn't, prosecuting attorney didn't put in the budget. And then from my experience, when he does come, he only says, oh, I'm just asking for $4,000. Oh, I'm just asking for $2,000. So why isn't this a priority for him? That would be my question. Which you bringing up, you would like to see that, in our budget as a priority. So if you're listening out there, please shoot me an email and give me a brief description as to why it'll be after the vote, but I still would like to know.
Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. I I agree with what's being said as far as I don't like the particular process. My concern is this is going to be a this year funding. If we had approved this in the vote, it is now being put off to a next year maybe thing if we find it in the budget. So this is some ARPA money that we need to expend before December. And that's kind of the reason I thought, okay, it's already, let's get it where it needs to go. So I guess I just have a little concern with, we're going to hold off and now we're going to see what we're going to do. But it's up to the board. I've only got one vote. So like I said, this is not going to be a this year thing. It's going to be a next year. In the meantime, you got 5 more months of whether or not an employee says, I got a better job down the road because we can't get enough to, meet the need. So there we go.
Commissioner Ray and then Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Commissioner DeLue that this is just opening up a box by doing it this way. Wondering, I'm not opposed to it, so I'm just wondering if we should amend the motion to maybe just consider a proposal from the prosecutor for something like this instead of saying yes, and then we have 20 department heads at our next board meeting asking for the same request. How do we say no if they say it's a priority for them? All county employees are overworked and underpaid. So just wondering how we should really navigate this process right now.
Commissioner Morales.
And then I just had a constituent nudge me and why aren't we just going with Dr. Catlin's recommendation? So, in the past, we have went with recommendations. Hence, we made our last decision to have our new appointed administrator based off a recommendation. So thank you to my constituent who circled me back to that. With that, I would support going to Dr. Catlin's recommendation and us figuring the rest out so that we don't have folks. You want to know what the recommendation is? Yeah. That ARPA funds cover paternity program costs.
1 year.
It's a part, right?
Yeah,
It's partial support. It's partial support. The costs associated with the
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last year, this body was informed that because the county was no longer doing the work, we were not responsible for the payment. However, the state determined that that was not true. We were still parties to that agreement. Per this body's direction, I did interview and talk with the attorneys who are doing this work, but they're doing it on behalf of the county. Therefore, the county is still responsible for its share of the grant of the paternity establishment costs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council. And, I'll just bring the board back to the time we had extensive discussion around the rippling impact of the ending of the paternity establishment. And then the funding that prosecutor asked to reallocate then at that time, which did not materialize into a savings for us. So we do have a motion on the floor. The motion currently is to allocate $162,000 from well, I guess we need to amend the motion technically if we want to identify it from the board priorities in the golden ratio. It wasn't stated in the motion.
Yeah.
We could withdraw the motion. We could amend. Vice Chair.
I do not want to take it from the board priorities. I think it should be taken from the budget. I look at the board priorities not as internally what we want to fund within the county, but I look at the board priorities as what kind of external sort of commitments do we have to our community? What we do, and we are not under any sort of obligation as commissioners to be in charge of the budget of the board priorities. We are in charge of the budget of the whole county. So I just want commissioners to understand that as we move forward in this budget process. It looks like this motion does not have the votes to pass. I'm pretty good at that. So I will withdraw my motion, but I will, if the prosecutor is watching, I will fight for that in the budget process. I think it's needed. I just don't like using, and we had a thing with Health and Community Services. We had a couple other people, the Sheriff's Office, a lot of different times that, and most of the time, not all the time, most of the time we've said no. There have been a couple occasions where there is a very close similarity between what they're requesting and what the original intent for the ARPA dollars were. That I think I'm okay with. But from victims to advocates to employee retention, those are two entirely different causes. I think they're both needed. I will be supporting it in the budget, and I will withdraw my motion because I do not have the votes to pass it.
So with the sentiment to withdraw, we need support agreement from the second to withdraw the motion.
Montes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Morales.
You looked at me but gave it to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You both said support, and then my brain cross-wired. They both start with M. It was kind of close. Are you in agreement with the withdrawal at this time? Okay. So this motion is withdrawn. If I could talk, Commissioner Morales.
I move to support that we use Dr. Catlin's recommendation to reallocate the OPA's remaining ARPA funds to cover paternity program costs.
Full amount.
Yes.
Support. Okay. Motion is made by Commissioner Morales, supported by Commissioner Ray, to reallocate the additional ARPA funds to cover the paternity establishment costs. So I want to again clarify to administration and to the motion maker, is the motion is to take all of the remaining ARPA funds to opioid establishment? No. I'm sorry, my goodness, my brain. Yes, to the paternity establishment. My brain. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so I understand clarification from the motion maker to administration to clarify Dr. Catlin's recommendation. What was the dollar amount that he was requesting?
Reallocation.
Thank you.
Chair, to the board, the reallocation amount was $192,704.60.
And then the remaining of the ARPA funds would be moved to capital needs.
That was the recommendation.
Okay. Say that again, Commissioner. Yeah, let's clarify for them. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. So I move to support Dr. Catlin's recommendation to reallocate OPA's remaining ARPA funds to cover paternity program costs, as well as move any remaining funds to capital needs.
Is that acceptable to the support? Okay, so to restate the motion as I'm understanding it, made by Commissioner Morales, supported by Commissioner Ray, is to reallocate $192,000 of remaining ARPA funds to the paternity establishment expenses, with the remaining balance of available ARPA funds to be reallocated to capital needs. Good. Okay. Now we'll take some discussion. Vice Chair.
Is there any way to bifurcate that question to
You can make that motion.
Can I make a motion to is that a friendly amendment to bifurcate? We just vote on the paternity establishment dollars and then the CIP dollars at the end?
I think it's most efficient just to make the motion to
I make a motion to bifurcate the question.
Okay. Is there support? Motion by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Ray, to divide the question. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Gisler.
Yes, before I get lost in Before I get totally lost in the way we're doing this, I want to remind everybody that ARPA money disappears on December 31st of this year. It's use it or lose it, and don't look for it next year. And in the meantime, with respect to department heads coming in and asking for more as a result of anything we do, folks, we got to prioritize. And that goes for all you department heads too. Come in and make your plea, but you may not wind up with the result you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler. Further discussion, the comments should be just germane to dividing the question. Are there any comments to that? All right. Absolutely, you're all right. I do what I can. All those in favor of dividing the question say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We will divide the question. First, we will take up the first component of the motion. So Commissioner Morales, I'd entertain a motion to allocate $192,000 of remaining ARPA funds to paternity establishment. Okay, is there support? All right, motion made by Commissioner Morales, supported by Commissioner Ray. Now we will open discussion. This is for $192,000 to cover the costs of paternity establishment. Any further discussion? Commissioner Gissler.
Yes, as I understand it, that's because you're making this motion because that's what Kevin recommended. Kevin's got my wholehearted support. Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Do you like a roll call or we?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. The ayes carry. That motion carries. All right, we'd identify then the second component of the motion. I don't have a number of the balance. Do we know? Please, Administrator.
Chair, to the board, the allocation pending the decision for payment is $162,658.69 minus, I forgot the updated number. So forgive me. This is minus 577.15.
Oh, my mic is off. Good. Thank you. I'd entertain the motion to identify the remaining ARPA funds be allocated, the amount of remaining funds as identified by administration to be allocated to capital needs. Is that acceptable? And is there support?
Has that motion already been made and supported?
You divided the question.
So we have to redo the second
Yeah,
part?
we have to make them subsidiary motions.
I'll support it.
Okay, so there's a motion by Commissioner Morales, supported by Vice Chair Taylor. Is there discussion? Commissioner Morales.
Yes, to Commissioner Gissler, I just want to remind you that this is also a recommendation from Dr. Catlin, and we need to support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, I am seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, look at that. All right, thank you very much, commissioners. Let's see. We did what we had to do. Let's go to item 6, our other items. First, we have an oral presentation regarding the need for the addition of 2 new members on the Board of Economic Development Corporation, or the EDC, of Kalamazoo County. And we will welcome forward our Planning and Development Director, Rachel Grover. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, and Commissioners. Thank you for this. This is sort of an unusual request today. There is a request that is coming forward for bond financing, or that has come forward to the Economic Development Corporation of Kalamazoo County. Many of you have not seen a request come before the EDC. It's been about 30 years since we've had a request, and due to a lot of changes in financing, we're getting a request now. So this is a project in Texas Township, and when there is a project area that is proposed for EDC bond financing under Michigan Public Act 338, there's a requirement to appoint 2 additional members just for that project only. So I did speak with the Board Appointments Committee a couple of weeks ago at their last meeting to let them know that this would be coming forward today. Just a summary from Public Act 338, it's MCL 125.1604, or corporate counsel there. There shall be appointed 2 additional directors of the corporation who shall serve only in respect to that project and shall be representative of neighborhood residents and business interests likely to be affected by the project. So it's very specific to the project, only during the project, and then they are done serving. There is a very specific order of items that need to be approved during the whole EDC bonding process over the next few months, and the appointment of the 2 additional EDC members needs to occur before those other things can happen. So waiting for your full board appointments process will be difficult for this to get through the entire process. And also, additionally, the project developers are hoping to start, of course, prior to winter, so October. So getting to that bond financing piece, if we could by the end of September, would be helpful. So that is why we are making that request to make these 2 appointments. And a little background for the public, and as this will be coming forward fully for the rest of the bond financing approvals that need to happen for resolutions. The project is Heritage Community of Kalamazoo. They're proposing to build a multifamily living community for active adults over the age of 55 at 7210 West Q Avenue in Texas Township. So this would be a satellite campus for their other facility that's in the city of Kalamazoo. There are 2 additional EDC members that are being recommended to you today. One is Dr. Ellen Proctor. She is the owner of Mindset Physical Therapy, which is located in Texas Corners, so close to the location of the proposed project. The second person that was recommended to you, I just learned, cannot come to the EDC meeting times. So there's been a change to that recommendation. Still a resident of the neighborhood adjacent to the property. Her name is Jen Davis, and she is the founder of Summit Edge Communications, an executive communications company that works with CEOs and executive leadership teams during periods of transformation and change. So she is a resident of the neighborhood that is directly adjacent to the proposed site. So these appointments are included in the first reading of the resolution. That's the next agenda item on your committee of the whole today. And the EDC is requesting that the commission also suspend its rules for a first reading and second reading 2 weeks later of this resolution. It's provided you with that direction. The resolution is included in your for your consideration under new business for your regular meeting tonight. So there's several things in that resolution, and of those, it is to also appoint these 2 additional members. As noted in your board agenda, there's the 2 additional members only serve related to this project. So they would not be, normally you appoint EDC members as brownfield board members as well. They would not be serving in that capacity. It's only for the EDC and only related to bonding for this project. So do we have any questions? And I also want you to know that the County Bond Council is here too if we have any questions and getting into the next agenda item as well. Tom Colas is here as well.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair.
And I'm assuming this bond would be paid for by the brownfield? Or
No.
who's issuing the bond?
So it's the EDC, it's the Economic Development Corporation, and this may be the time for Tom Colas to come up. It's a specific financing tool that is under this Public Act 338.
Yeah, I'm more concerned of who's going to pay the bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So the EDC acts as a conduit in this circumstance. So the borrower is responsible for all debt service payments. So the bond purchaser doesn't look to the county or the EDC for repayment, and you don't provide any of the funds associated with it. So the Heritage Committee would bring to the table the purchaser of the bonds and would look exclusively to them. So the documentation would provide that both the county and the EDC are not liable. There's no taxing power associated with, pledge to the bondholders. So this is strictly provides the access to the tax-exempt bond market for the borrower, and that's why this act was established back in 1974. The state has a similar statute that the Michigan Strategic Fund operates under to fund what are called private activity bonds. So tax-exempt financing for private entities, but they have to be specifically a 501c3 corporation, which Heritage is.
Okay. So Heritage would pay the bond payments. If they're in default, who is responsible?
Heritage. So there's collateral that they pledge to support the bonds, and that Heritage has existing debt outstanding that's been issued through the City of Kalamazoo Economic Development Corporation for various improvements to not only construct but renovate the existing campus in the city. But since this project includes a major part of the project is the Texas Township site, which is outside of the City of Kalamazoo's EDC jurisdiction. That's why the county EDC has been requested to participate in the project, because the Texas Township does not have its own economic development corporation.
So they're just using our rate, basically.
It's actually not even the rate associated with the county, because the county doesn't provide any support whatsoever. So there's no financial support to the county. What they're doing is using the EDC to access the tax exempt market. So even though Heritage Community is a 501c3 itself, it can't issue tax-exempt debt. So if it wanted to finance this on their own, they would go to a financial institution, a bank, and issue it on a taxable basis. But the benefit of a tax-exempt rate would be lower than a taxable basis. So going through a governmental entity like the Economic Development Corporation allows them to access that tax-exempt rate. That would be beneficial to the banks who are buying this.
So they're just using our rate.
They're using it to get a lower rate. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's their motivation.
That is their motivation.
Gotcha.
Exclusively.
That's what I was trying to get at. Okay. And this doesn't affect our bonding capacity or in any way based on our ability or number of outstanding bonds that we have. I think it's a percentage of what our taxable value is or something. This doesn't go against our so much that we can borrow.
No, this has no impact on the county's debt limit whatsoever, because it's not a debt of the county. So it doesn't, and again, exclusively the borrower is responsible for the debt service payment. So this would not have any impact whatsoever of the county's ability to issue debt.
Okay. So this is a state rule. I'm just trying to simplify this.
Yep.
This is a state rule that a 501c3 can take advantage of to get a lower rate for a large construction project or something that benefits the community.
That's currently, so yes, this project is a 501c3. There are tax exempt rules that allow for other types of development, mostly industrial manufacturing. We used to do a lot of these in the 80s, 90s, where it was small issue manufacturing. So small manufacturing entities could take the benefit of also this type of financing through an economic development corporation or through the state. So this project happens to be a 501c3, which has the ability to get tax-exempt financing, but it could be other projects that could come to the EDC and request assistance if their project would qualify for tax-exempt financing.
It seems like a very interesting tool that you could probably use for other types of situations throughout the county. And I'm just trying to get we haven't had one in 30 years.
Exactly.
So.
I do think I think on the private market, they could get lower rates on their own before. That's why we haven't seen one in a long time. But with the economy the way it is, I think we're starting to see people a little more interested in other ways of financing. So we may get more requests.
Thank you. Commissioner Gisler.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify what I think John essentially covered, but he covered it too elaborately for me. Our AA plus bond rating is not in any way impacted.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. All right, I'm seeing no further questions. Thank you very much, Director Grover. All right. Okay, so we're going to go on now to the first reading of the resolution certifying approval, project area designation, establishing project district area boundaries, appointing additional directors, and calling public hearing concerning Heritage Community of Kalamazoo project plan. So again, I guess I'll read out I just have a language from council, so some of it will sound redundant here, but next item is the introduction of this resolution, certifying approval of project area designation, establishing project district area boundaries, appointing additional directors, and calling a public hearing concerning project plan for Heritage Community of Kalamazoo. Sure, Vice Chair will take it. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
I move to suspend the rules that require this resolution to be laid on the table in the committee of the whole and to permit the resolution to be introduced here and then taken up for final consideration and a vote at the regular session later this evening.
The motion has been made to suspend the rules to allow this resolution to be introduced in committee of the whole and finalized during the regular session later tonight. Is there a second? Motion is made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Mazer. Look at her tonight. All right. I'm sorry. Is there further? I'm sorry. Yes, Council.
No, I forgot to put the parties to the discussion, further discussion.
Yes, thank you. Is there further discussion? All right, I am seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All. And my apologies, I need to call a roll. And this measure does require a 2/3 majority in order to prevail. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Strebs?
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yeah.
Commissioner Wheeler? Commissioner DeLue?
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer?
Yes.
Commissioner Morales?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. That meets the 2/3 threshold. This motion carries. The resolution is now properly before the Committee of the Whole for discussion. Is there any further? So we just moved to suspend the bylaws. Now we take up the matter directly. I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair?
Council.
Thank you. There's a need for a motion, but if Director Glover, I'm sorry, if there was some questions that you may have had about the other parts of the resolution, which include the area designation, the project district area boundaries, etc. This is where you would discuss those items. Thank you.
Thank you for clarification, Council. Is there any other questions from the Commission? Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you. Had read through this before we started, and it looks like there is some area and some taxes that's going to be involved in this, or not.
I don't think so. Do you have the specific part of the resolution?
That was part of a couple hundred pages I was reading through, so sorry about that. Yeah, that was just, if there isn't, that's fine, but I'm assuming that the pay for these two people is going to come out of this too.
Oh, you mean for the bond financing itself or the appointment of the 2 additional members? So I suppose the 2 additional members could apply for your, is it $30 per meeting? But that would be the only charge involved. Otherwise, there's no pay, and I think there's even specific legislation that they are not paid members. And there also any additional cost for the bond financing itself is covered by the borrower. So the county is not responsible for those costs.
We're not technically on.
As on the advisory board, and they could apply for your $30 per meeting per diem, but that would be the only cost. Yes.
Vice Chair.
All the directors there. I understand the timing of this. I'm in support of it, and I think this is an excellent opportunity in the future to start doing this. The requirement of the 2 additional people on the EDC. I think if there is time that this board and go through the regular appointments, that would be preferred. I just, you look at Rome and the self-perpetuating caucus of the Cardinals. If you get the same people over and over and over again, to shake things up. Sometimes it's good to have a full board discussion on the people.
Understood. Thank you.
Nice reference, Vice Chair. All right. All right. Is there any further discussion? All right. Seeing no further discussion, Committee of the Whole reports that the resolution has been introduced and discussed and is being forwarded to the regular session for final consideration during new business this evening. Thank you, Council. All right. We're going to go next to the continued discussion regarding direction to HR Director concerning anti-obesity GLP-1 coverage. We'll welcome our HR Director, Sharon Brown. Sometimes it's good to have a comfort blanket with you. Welcome, Director.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Nice to see you again. I'm coming back this time after we spoke a couple weeks ago about the conditions around the GLP-1 medications on our plan and trying to make plans about our plan design for 2027. Again, the reason we're bringing this to you separately from the rest of the plan design is because we do want to work on getting our rates finalized with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we need this decision to do that. And also we want to begin our communication as proactively as possible if there's going to be a change so folks who are impacted have time to make plans. Also, we want to get ahead of open enrollment, but that's kind of tied to the rates as well. So last time I was here, we discussed some of the reasons that the question was coming to you, and I was asked to bring back some options or things we could do to try to help supplement the change. So in the packet today, I believe you have information that outlines kind of the current status of where things are. It outlines a few options. I also provided you with some feedback from the employees, both the comments that came from our benefits survey. AI sorted those for you in positive and negative. If you look through it, you'll see AI did a good AI job, but some of the negatives got in with the positives. But you do have all of the comments there, so you could see what folks were thinking. I also shared some testimonials with you. I will offer, I also got another one today that I was approved to share with you anonymously. I don't know the best mechanism by doing that. I have that with me as well, but it just came in this afternoon. And so in front of you, you have a lot of information about the complicated question we have in front of us and a lot of the emotional ways that this is impacting folks as they know that this decision is in your hands. What I gave to you as options were 3 options, and I will say, given this late moment in the year, that has been one of the challenges in the options we brought forward. So the 3 that were offered to you there, it would be helpful if I had this pulled up on my screen rather than doing it from memory. Would you turn it off? That's twice now my phone has gone off while we're up here. I'm so sorry. So option 1 is to look at increasing the copay for the medication. So in this scenario, we would keep the medications covered under our prescription plan, but we would change the copay. Right now, it is on our regular copay schedule along with our other drugs. And actually, because this is a high cost medication, it goes through our health plan advocate program, which is a discount coupon program we enrolled in this year with our plan to help save the plan money. It does reduce the cost for the plan, but it also brings that cost down for the consumer, for the member, down to $0 once they've met their deductible in their high deductible plan or right away for the enhanced plan. So right now, the person who is taking the medication does have very little skin in the game when it comes to finances. So one option would be to look at increasing that employee cost.
So $0 skin in the game after the high deductible, isn't it? So what is the high deductible?
Oh, goodness. Good question. It's $2,400 for I'm not going to be able to give it to you straight off memory, and I don't want to get it wrong. There is a different tier for single, dual, or family, and that high deductible plan is one of the 2 options. If you may remember, we have an enhanced plan with a low deductible. That's at $300, $600, and $900 for family, dual, single, dual, and family. And then our high deductible plan, I just don't have the numbers at the tip of my tongue, but it's similarly, they're set around the $2,000 to $3,000 range. And with the high deductible plan, that's the one that the IRS has some strict guidelines around because it has a health savings account attached to it. Thank you so much. And the health savings account is a tax advantaged account that allows you to put away pre-tax dollars to pay for things. But to do that, you have to have a high deductible, according to the IRS. And then there are some limits on what the employer can pay before you've met that deductible to make sure no one's kind of sneaking around their rules. So with that, you do need to pay full cost of all of your health care under the plan until you've reached that deductible. That can be met through prescription bills. So if you're on this medication and it's costing, say, $1,200 a month, you may meet that deductible in 2 months of filling it, and then after that, the plan would kick in and give you that $0.
Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify, it's not no skin.
That is correct. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you taking the question. Thank you.
For the record, I will also say the deductible is $1,700 for single and $3,400 for family. So there. Thank you. So in option 1, what we offered there is looking at either increasing the copay. I will say sort of randomly picked $400 is a number that is meaningful to the employee. It is a significant amount per month, but is a significant discount off of the full cost price through self-funding it, which could be as much as $1,300 per month. And then we talked a little bit last month as well about some of the options that are available direct to consumers who do not go through a healthcare plan where they can get employer discounts. And I wanted to clarify some language as well. I've been doing a lot of learning through this as well. And the gray market is a term that is being used often to describe medications, but it can be used broadly to include medications that aren't FDA approved, that are I'm going to say knockoff versions of the FDA approved drugs, those are often available at $30, $40, $50 a month. When you see in the quotes here, I gave you some information from GoodRx about the cost for direct to consumer cost of Wegovy and Zepbound, which are the two primary medications that we're looking at here. And those are the FDA approved ones through GoodRx, and they are offered at about $200 or so a month to the consumer directly. We are unable to get that same savings when it goes through the plan because those direct-to-consumer prices aren't available through medical billing. I'm happy to answer more questions about that. So in this, looking at the first option, A there would look at presuming a $400 copay where the consumer is now taking $400. Yes?
I just want to understand so the direct-to-consumer rate is not available because of the rate that our self-funded insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield establishes as the cost?
No, it is the supplier, the manufacturer of the drug only offers the direct-to-consumer funding price, that discounted price to consumers. When they bill through a medical provider, they charge a different rate. So that's at the pharmaceutical side that is charging at that amount. That's not up to our health plan to decide.
Thank you.
Yeah. So option one then looks at moving that to either splitting that cost 50-50 with the member or perhaps just capping that at $400. We are legally under our plan guidelines required to cover at least 50% of any covered medication. So moving it to 50% would be the maximum that we could move and shift the cost to the member. We could cap that at a lower amount. I used $400 here for estimating purposes, but the board would have complete discretion to set that at a different amount as long as it's less than 50%.
Commissioner Morales.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
So with the 400, that's 400
Yeah, so
every time they go get the script?
That's correct, instead of the full cost there. So what I show on there at the top, I gave you some of the costs that are coming through to our plan. And so if we were to do it at $400, that would mean the member goes to fill it at the pharmacy, they pay $400 as their copay, and then $527 for Zepbound would be billed to the plan. So that splits it a little less than 50-50 with the employee, and then the second option I listed there would just be a 50-50 split, just trying to show you kind of what that would look like for savings to the plan, since that was the original driver for the ask.
So I got a couple things, Chair. So because this is, I guess, the first round of folks like, hey, I'm going to jump on this to, improve my quality of life. Is that why we're seeing that double-digit increase, or will that double-digit increase continue in perpetuity as long as we allow this once they get their deductible paid?
I think that that's the question that everyone is asking in the healthcare industry right now. These medications are relatively new, and like you said, a lot of folks are jumping in knowing that they've just become available over the past few years. I think one of the things we're seeing in terms of the trends across the marketplace here is that this is just a very volatile space right now. The costs of the medications are very high. The manufacturers have seen a lot of insurance plans drop the coverage, which has driven this direct-to-consumer pricing where the manufacturers still want to sell their product, and so they're finding ways to try to get it in people's hands. And so we're waiting for the market to regulate. It's just very volatile right now. People are getting on them. People are getting off them. They're covered by plans. They're not. They're offered through direct to consumer pricing. They're at this gray market. And the pill was just recently introduced instead of the injectable. And so the honest answer is that nobody has a good prediction right now of where that's going to go and what the long-term picture will look like.
So here's my thing. I truly believe that it offers a better quality of life, just like if you are diabetic, if you are on heart medicine. I don't want to start playing with, this drug costs so much and it's costing us more. When we could look at, is their performance better? Are they coming to work? Are we not covering, dialysis now? Did their heart rate balance out? Are they not on those drugs before we X this out? So I'm not in support of the proposal. I mean, we talk about how good our insurance is and why you should come to the county. Obesity is real. It leads to depression. It leads to suicide. And some people, I saw some of the recommendations, diet, exercise, health. Hell, I still got jelly rolls after 25 years of having my son, and I have been on yo-yo diets, squatting, doing all the things that's supposed to make me better. However, when I see folks jump to GLP-1s, it gives them better confidence and they're more motivated to continue that work. On top of sleep apnea is gone, high blood pressure is gone, diabetes has really lowered out, and they're able to manage their weight and their diet well. So that's my 5 cents on that. I don't want to start playing with, especially with drugs that aren't FDA approved, just to try to lose weight, because there are other complications that come with that. There's side effects to everything, but I don't support that at all. Because then we just had this discussion about money, people start feeling like, well, you shouldn't eat a pork chop. That's why you have high blood pressure. So that's my 5 cents on that.
Vice Chair.
You'd mentioned that a lot of other groups and stuff are having that conversation about this GLP-1s. What other groups are offering those?
Thank you for that question. I did include some feedback that I got from other counties in our area, and I apologize with a short timeline. I haven't been able to do a deep study into this. The short timeline since the last time I brought it to you. We have been looking at this for a while. But you'll see here that at the bottom of page 4 in your packet, the city of Grand Rapids does cover this, and I don't have details about if they have any gatekeeping or guardrails around it. Genesee County and Ottawa County do not cover them, and right now Ingham, Kent, and Oakland all do cover them with various types of gatekeeping type programs like Noom, or like another program that's looking at making sure BMI is within an obesity status range and things like that.
So when Nolte told us that we were the only ones that were self-insured that were providing it, that wasn't true?
I was under the same impression that this was incredibly rare. I think they knew that there was 1 or 2 counties on the other side. A recent study of this that we just did a poll and asked counties came back with different information. So I don't know if they have changed their coverage, but I was also the same impression that Nolte had shared with us, that we were one of only a handful or a couple left in the state that were still covering it.
And one of those 3 options, what would each one do to like the employees' 20% that they have to pay? How much would it cost the employees if we were to get rid or have that 14% increase versus a 7 or 8% increase?
And I have that handy. I apologize, this didn't make it into the packet this week, was in the packet last week. So if anybody wants to go back to the archives and get that, I also have a couple handy here. But what we were looking at for the estimated rates, and because we're self-funded, we use an illustrative rate model. And so just projecting, Blue Cross won't run us rates with 90 different plan options. We have to kind of tell them which one. But using what we know about them, we were able to estimate that if we do include the GLP-1s in our coverage, we will see about 11.5% increase to the premiums. Without the GLP-1 coverage, we would see that at about 5.5%, 5.7. So it is about half as much of an increase if we cut them out completely. I did not ask for estimated rates with any of these 3 options at this time.
Do you know what the average employee premium is? I can do that 6%.
Yep. So the premiums I can do all this. I'm just trying to make sure it's easy to understand. Numbers out loud, I think, are difficult. So with our enhanced plan, currently right now, if you are a single person on the enhanced plan, the monthly illustrative rate is $913 per person. That's not what the employee pays, that's the total. We take 80% of that. The employee takes 20%, which would be
$180.
Yeah, is that on here? I just have the increase, unfortunately. But the increase would go up to $1,020. So that's up just over $100 per month with the GLP-1s, and without them, it goes to $965. So it only goes up about $50 a month. That's the total. 20% of that ends up being per month for the employee, with % of that ends up being per month for the employee without $10 increase and $10.40. And with the GLP-1s would be $21.36. So about twice as much more per month. That does work out to per paycheck, and I had that on here as well. It's about $5 per paycheck if you're on the single enhanced plan, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a family, it does go up about $14 per paycheck. So that is more significant. That is how much more it goes up with the GLP-1s.
So is it safe to say that with employee on a family plan, they're looking at whether or not they use it. If we keep the GLP-1s, they're looking at about $280 a year.
That sounds right as a quick back of the napkin math. Yes.
Okay. So the decision, if we keep GLP-1s, we're going to be asking employees to pay an extra $280, roughly. Families. Singles would be paying less, and duals would be paying a little bit less.
That's right. And these numbers are in that packet. I think that they're complicated to try to do out loud, but yeah, you're on the right track.
I see Commissioner Gisler, Commissioner DeLu, and we'll come back to Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. Rather than the individual employee plan and the cost, I'd like to know what you can now anticipate. We're right at 1.6 million this year is projected for the full year. What happens to that 1.6 million for the price of this single category of drug?
And what happens if which decision is made?
Yeah.
If we eliminate them?
Give me the options of the three different plans.
Sure. So with the three different options, one would be to split that cost 50-50 with the employee to make that simple. With option A saying we increase the for the employee that is using, or the member, because it could be a family member who's using the prescription, they would pay half the cost when they go to the pharmacy, and we would pay half. That would cut our cost from 20%. We're paying 80% of it now. It would cut it down, so we would be about 30 to 50% savings, depending on how that discount program layers with it, but about 50% savings. So that would take us in theory from about 1.6 to 0.8.
Okay.
Exactly.
What about the other options?
So the second option that I listed on there, just to run through them quickly, would be to offer some sort of reimbursement for folks, take it out of the plan so they're no longer covered, but they could go to their self-pay options, which allows them to reap the benefits of those discount programs for direct-to-consumer purchases. And we could possibly reimburse them through the Kalamazoo County Fund. So the plan would experience only the cost of reimbursing that lesser amount. The reason that that's a really difficult option for us to pull off for 2027 is because of those things I was mentioning earlier around the IRS rules about reimbursements before the deductible, and figuring out a way to do that is compliant with the law is going to take some doing. Our benefits advisors really hate this idea. I think that on its surface, it feels like it could be a really good solution because we'd be able to harvest that great discount that's out there for direct to consumer and maybe reimburse that through the plan. But because of the legal issues, our benefits advisor is advising that this is a really bad idea to try to do for 27. We might be able to come up with a plan to do it later down the road, but to be able to find a way legally compliant that quickly, they advise us that that's a bad idea. And so that's why I kind of highlighted that in your packet, that this one's really rife with issues if we were to go that direction. So that one would save us more money because over the 50%, because instead of taking half the cost, we would be taking it down to just the $200, which is about an 80% discount over what we're paying through the plan. So that saves more money, but again, very legally risky. And we'd want to make sure we knew what we were doing before we moved down that road. And then the third option I offered there was to eliminate coverage completely, take it out of the plan, and perhaps redistribute the funds that were originally earmarked for that, or some portion of them, to try to support wellness and weight loss through other methods that might be meaningful to employees. So I offered a few options on there, like a wellness stipend, like other programs that we could put in place that might help. But to the point and into the comments from the employees, there are folks for whom this medication is doing something that is different than what other weight loss strategies have brought for them in terms of exercise or diet alone being effective. And so I think that's worth weighing. It is a complicated issue.
So then Commissioner Morales, then Vice Chair.
Yeah, well, as you know, I totally support keeping the program. I was going to read some things on here, but I don't think I need to about how beneficial they are. Plus, after reading some of those testimonials, it even made me feel even stronger about keeping it. However, I know cost is an issue, and after reading some of the things I've read, I think the employees may be open to a higher deductible, which is kind of a little compromise. Now, I don't know about $400 a month, but I read one where they felt they're currently paying $25 or something, that they felt comfortable at $100. So I think something $100 to $200 a month, and keeping the plan the way it is, I would certainly support that.
Commissioner Morales.
Those are pretty much my same sentiments. In my experience of deductibles rising in the workplace, I have seen in my own workplace them go up from a family 150 to last year we went to 300 and something. And that was because folks was walking around with new knees or new hips, things that at my age I don't have to worry about, but in 30 years I may have to worry about. And I really don't want someone saying, you know what, you should have ate your fish cod oil 30 years ago, or you wouldn't be dealing with this. So also, within that 55%, do you know how many of those were families?
Which 55% are we talking about?
You put 55%, I think. Yeah, whatever the survey responses
I don't have that information just because the survey that we took didn't ask for that demographic information.
And then, I think that's important. So we know, who, if there's a family that may be able to afford that. I think we always have to caution when prices go up just because everybody makes a different salary, right? And salary doesn't equal wealth no matter how much you make. And
plan does have a prescription that was medically prescribed. So everyone who is getting this drug through our plan right now does have a medical prescription from a doctor. I don't have specifics on the background of what testing because our current plan does not require any level of gatekeeping in that way. So there are plans like the other counties have some where you have to have done this first, or you have to have been 6 months in a weight loss program before you'd be eligible. We don't currently have those protections on our plan, or those guardrails on our plan. What I did want to mention, though, is something that I feel like has become more clear to me in the past couple of weeks as I've been digging in deeper, and I wanted to make sure I hadn't left anyone with a different impression. We very much have been focused on these drugs as being strictly for anti-obesity, and as you've seen in some of the descriptions there are folks who are taking these medications which are prescribed for anti-obesity. That is the labeled use and the reason that they've been prescribed. But they are actually working to treat a different condition with weight loss. And that was new information for me because there is no way to prescribe a GLP-1 for sleep apnea. It's not FDA approved to treat sleep apnea. However, losing weight is an effective strategy with sleep apnea. And so it is a way that doctors are trying to treat different conditions. And I was able to verify with Blue Cross Blue Shield that because they are billed as primarily treating obesity, that they would be eliminated. And there's not any way that I checked with Nelty, our benefits advisor, if there's a way for us to delineate these conditions as underlying would work. And that's not how the pharmacy benefit works. And so there's not a way for us to go in and say, as long as you have one of these 4 comorbidities, it would be approved. It is the labeled reason that it was prescribed. And I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that. They are all prescribed for anti-obesity. That is true. But as we see in some of these testimonials, there are oftentimes other things going on that are part of why that person is trying to lose weight. And I just wanted to make sure I hadn't left you with the same misimpression I had a couple weeks ago.
Chair, Commissioner Morales. So, yes. So even with that, because I know, like I mentioned, sleep apnea, I think sometimes that's, if they had to go around and we didn't provide that, then the doctor would say, hey, you get approved because you took the sleep apnea test. So that would mean that they would have to try to get reimbursed if we changed the plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield, if they got that script from their doctor.
Depending on what choice we made about it, if we eliminated the coverage completely, then they wouldn't be eligible for reimbursement either. If we just kept it covered and changed the copay, they wouldn't be eligible for reimbursement, but they would be getting part of the cost covered through the plan. That middle option, the one with doing a reimbursement, is the one that I want to say, again, really hard for us to pull that off for 2027. But there is an option listed at the end of your document there where we talked about some of the potential supplemental plans we could look at. One of them is Noon Core, which is one of the programs I think Kent County, one of the counties is using as their guardrails, I think maybe is the best word for that. If we did put a program like that in place, that would give us the ability to then create some future ways to do reimbursement. So the program just out of the box comes with a self-pay directed option where if you qualify within their program, they'll help you find these discounted programs to get it direct to consumer. That framework could be something we could build on in 28, where we could put a reimbursement account in place that could possibly reimburse for that self-pay. We'd have time to explore that option.
So, Chair, I guess for me, I would say keep it the same. With those guardrails, folks may not be able to get the help they need through sleep apnea or that weight loss if we start going in different directions. And with 55%, rooting for this, I just don't want to dig too deep. And I understand how premiums go, but you have over half of your employees saying yes.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Yeah, a couple of questions. I was under the understanding that we weren't going to eliminate this, that people were prescribed for diabetes or people were prescribed for, this was just for the anti-obesity side, correct?
That's correct. For diabetes, nothing we're discussing tonight has any impact on someone who has a diabetes diagnosis, a prescription for GLP-1s. The place that is the newer information was for other conditions other than diabetes. I had previously understood that diabetes and other conditions were both over here, but it's pretty much diabetes is the only other condition GLP-1s are approved to treat. All of these other comorbidities are covered under the anti-obesity prescription.
Okay. And then I would say that first off, we probably need to contact some, maybe a insurance, somebody that could help us besides Nolte that would know of other people that have used this, what kind of guardrails that we can use. Because I don't think we got accurate information from Nolte. Second, we're asking every family to pay an extra $260 a year, every individual to pay an extra $200 a year out of their paycheck for something that's being used by 80 to 100 people. Now, I agree that 55% of the respondents responded favorably. The question was asked, do you want to get rid of this or don't you? Or do you see value in this or don't you? The question was not asked, will you pay $280 a year for somebody else to utilize this? If that question would be asked, I don't think you would have received a 55% positive rating. That being said, I don't think we can continue to go down this road of $1.6 million, $2 million next year, $2.2 million. We need to get a handle on this. It's spiraling out of control. And I just say that as far as our insurance premiums and insurance go, it's spiraling out of control. And John Gisler pulls out that prioritize sign right now. And as much as I want to get employee benefits, I want to get them benefits in their, there we go. I want to get them benefits in their wages so that they can make the decisions that's in the best interest of their family. I don't want to, I'm not going to use the word penalize. I don't want to ask other people within our group to pay exorbitant amounts, 20% of their healthcare costs and prescriptions, of their healthcare costs and their prescriptions, because they're part of a group, to pay for something that a small number of employees are using. That being said, I do think we need guardrails in place. We need something. Commissioner DeLue had a compromise. I'd be open to compromising on this, but I think continuing as it is, I don't believe it's an option, and I don't believe it's fiscally responsible.
So I wasn't able to participate in our last discussion and just wanted to share some of my perspective now at this time as we've been having discussion. These are expensive but transformational medications that we have yet to really understand the full impact. There is data evidence that these medications may be successfully used to treat depression, which can reduce the instances of suicide. They may also be used to treat substance use disorder as well, and other obsessive conditions that can occur. So I think we're likely to see the expanded use of GLP-1s and, in the future, because there's very promising research. So I want us to keep in mind that expanded use. To the point of whether collectively we make an investment to benefit a small group of individuals. I mean, that's what insurance pools are about. Not everybody has a heart attack, but we pay a cost so that that's covered. It's there as a and insurance and protection for all of us should we face a circumstance where we come to need it. I am completely outraged that the pharmaceutical companies can provide this medication at a $200 direct cost, and to bleed us dry for profit, create an exorbitant cost that they'll bill our insurance program. That is completely disgusting, and I know that is not you, so I apologize for my emoting to that effect. That is legal policy framework that allows that kind of profiteering to occur, and that's just completely unacceptable and must be addressed in some broader way. Because that discounted rate is available, I think for us, an avenue to explore is there a mechanism to get us through next year or the year after, where we either see a broader policy or legal solution to this, immoral pharmaceutical profiteering that's occurring, or can we help glide path employees into this gray market to help them? Here, this identified that maybe that pathway would be just for the employee, not independents. Again, if it's my spouse with substance use disorder, or it is my child with obesity, and just as a matter of principle, like high deductible plans, the reason insurance companies want high deductible plans, they're a cost-saving measure because it creates conditions where the employee has to ration their care. They say, well, I can't afford that MRI I need for my heart because I can't meet my deductible, so I can't afford that medication that might, save my life and extend my cardiovascular health. So I know those are all broader policy implications, but I think we identify the cliff that we're heading to with the cost. We're having the proactive discussions about it. I think continuing to offer that as a solution, because who knows who will need it, and then we get a path through a complicated regulatory framework through the next year to get employees connected at a much lower cost to the medications that they need. So, Director?
If I could, I would just say on that as well, one of the options in here, again, the board would have discretion to set that higher copay for this medication at a different amount. I just used a number as a way to give something to look at and to start estimating, but that could be set at a different number. And I just wanted to call attention back to another one of our supplemental benefits, which is both the HSA with our high deductible plan and the FSA that's available. Those are both tax advantaged accounts that employees can defer funds into. With the HSA, the county actually does make a contribution into that account as well. Both of those will be places that folks can get an additional discount on their own spending. So for example, if the board were to set the deductible at $400 or $200 for these medications, employees could then plan ahead and have money put into their FSA to get that discounted further with their tax savings, that they'd be able to cover the cost of those medications through their tax advantaged health plan too.
So, as the board, we're trying to sort through direction for HR. This is incredibly complex. There's about 85 different zigs and zags that we can take. This is difficult, through Robert's rules for us to sort of sort through. I know we have the Employee Benefits Committee, but we do need to figure out a way to provide some direction to HR so they can move forward. So I don't know if we need to break into a subcommittee to come back to for a recommendation. Commissioner Gisler, go ahead.
Yes, in my opinion, after hearing what you had to say, is that we need to do whatever is best. First, it's going to be easy to work with, so that rules out the option 2, which you've said more than once is it's kind of like juggling knives. You could get hurt with that one. The idea that we can reduce our county expenditure for GLP-1s from 1.6 to 50% of that, I think that makes a lot of sense to me, in whichever mechanism you choose to do it through. And then take another look, as Jen implies. Next year, we may be seeing things differently. The prices of the drugs, the things they can be legally indicated for may change, and we'll go from there. This may be something that we can only put a stopgap in place now, and then in 12 months, take a look and see what's happened to the market, to the insurers, and that sort of thing, and possibly even the manufacturers. Thank you.
Administrator.
Thank you, Chair. To the board, I just want to lift up a couple of points too as we talk about this, and the other implications that are not necessarily part of this discussion right now. The continuing rising costs also have an impact on the employee fringe rate, and increasing the fringe rate really does also impact our operational funds, moving forward. So, right now there's a fund balance. We can leverage that as we make these decisions. But I also would lift up, there are other programs that Director did, raise that we can look to see if it's having an impact. But then there was one also decision on, in the past due to budgetary changes that it was eliminating the wellness coordinator. And so when you look at some of these lifestyle changes and other elements, that we take a long view of this, a long view in terms of what it takes to do lifestyle changes to take root, as well as having that feedback and individual coaching as an element of this, as well as the long-term costs associated with this and what that also means for the larger affordability of new employees coming on to meet the needs of the future. So I think it's a robust discussion, but it also has implications beyond the employee benefits fund. So I just want to make sure that we take that in our deliberations as well. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I guess listening to Commissioner DeLue and Commissioner Gisler, my personal opinion is, other than diabetics and then people that need this for life-saving sort of stuff, I am 100% that we need to keep this available for people to live healthy lives. If it's diabetic or something like that, I would personally, I don't think that we should be providing this medication. I think they could do it through the gray market through their HSA account. That being said, I also understand I don't have the votes. I'm, look at Commissioner DeLue and Commissioner Gisler's sort of compromise on that, of that 50%, and keeping that deductible at a higher level, $200 or whatever it was to reduce that by 50%. I'd go along with that. Now that's $800,000, of which 80% is going to be on our budget. That's about $720,000 less of things that we can do in the community. $720,000 less of projects that we can do. But the prioritized sign, I understand. But when we get to the budget process, I will be reminding folks that $720,000 of it went here. But I guess I would move that we go with option A. I think you need direction now as the open enrollment process moves forward. And I think the option A is a compromise. I'm not 100% happy with it, but I'm willing to go along with it. But that's where I am. I would move that we support option A in your proposal.
There is a motion.
Second.
There's a motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Gisler, to support option A as presented by HR related to GLP-1 medications. Discussion.
May I?
Yes, Director.
I just wanted to mention that in option A, I did offer two different options. And so simply saying yes to option A will still come back for more direction. So you'll see in there, I offered a 50% copay option. I also sort of estimated out a $400 per fill option. Another option that I heard mentioned was $200 or $100. So if we could clarify which part of option A or the specifics. I'm sorry? This is on page 2 of your packet. I think it's page 2. Yeah, page 2 of 6 of the packet of additional options. And it just mentions in option 1 there, I said that this would be to increase the copay when someone fills a prescription. And I offered two estimated amounts at $400 per fill or at 50% per fill. you could pick either of those, or you could also set a different dollar amount that it would be per fill, as long as it's less than 50%.
So, hold on, we have a motion on the floor. I appreciate Director. So trying to clarify, I heard Vice Chair, you articulated that your intention in the motion is for a 50% copay.
Correct. My intention was to reduce our cost by 50% with a 50% copay only related to those GLP-1s. If you are non-diabetic. If you are diabetic, then I think it should be treated. Yeah.
Okay. So support, that's still supported. Okay. So motion by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Gisler, is to support option A for a 50% copay for GLP-1 medications prescribed for obesity. Discussion.
Yes.
Commissioner Duluth.
I cannot support that. I think that's too high. 400, even certainly 50%, and even 400, in my opinion, is too high. I was like personally maxing out at 200 per month, so I will not support this motion.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Morales.
Yes, I am in agreement with that. And when you talk about FSA cards, what's your max? Is it 5,000? So when we think about somebody that's only going to cover 3 months of the drug. And what if they have other things that they need to cover through copays? I think, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not balancing out for me. 200, that was an arbitrary number, so it could be lower. I think we need some finite numbers. I'm not going to start digging into, because you had the sleep apnea test, you get it, but give them the drug. You know, like that's where I'm at. I'm not, if we're going to raise it, but then when we get into, again, if 80 people come with this rare knee surgery in the next year, the premium is going to go up anyway. Your premium is going to go up based on how many claims you get every year. And I understand it's attacking fringe and all these things, but if you have a better quality of life out of your employees through these drugs, then I'm in support of it. But I'm not in support of $500, especially when our highest paid employee makes $33,000. Like, no. So that's my other 5 cents on that, Chair.
Thank you. Mindful of the time and seeing the sort of lean of the board, I'd just like to call the question. Clerk, please call a roll.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler? Commissioner Delu? Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer?
No.
Commissioner Morales? Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Chair Strips?
No.
4 yes.
All right, that motion dies. Okay, so we want to entertain a different.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I thought that motion was to call the question.
Thank you so much. You're right, it was to call the question. It still dies. So now discussion remains open.
Yes, on the original motion.
On the original motion, which is the 50%. Vice Chair.
Since it in essence died, I will withdraw the motion and we can discuss other things. But it doesn't have the votes.
Is that acceptable, Commissioner Gisler? Okay, motion is withdrawn. Commissioner Duluth?
I'll make a motion to accept option A, but the total amount for the monthly copay will be $200 per employee.
Support.
Motion is made by Commissioner Duluth, supported by Commissioner Morales, to adopt option A with a $200 monthly copay for GLP-1 medications when prescribed for obesity. Discussion. Vice Chair.
I can support this provided we learn how to juggle knives in a year. And we learn how to figure out how we can legally put that in the framework. And then this $200 copay is a 1-year stopgap. All employees know that this is something we can no longer financially afford and still provide the benefits that all of our employees need. Yes, I agree that the idea of insurance is for a group to pay for things for for the collective to pay for individuals. That is the whole purpose of insurance, and quite frankly, that's the whole purpose of government, which we don't even need insurance if government's doing its job, but that's a whole different story. But that being said, yeah. So that being said, I think it's a step in the right direction. But I'm just letting this board know we're not looking at cost of living increases for employees. We're not looking at the decisions that are going to be made for all the employees, and 55% on a survey that says, would you like this drug, is going to be a different 55% that's going to come back and say to us, how come we're not getting a cost of living increase this year? How come we're not going out into the community and doing the type of work that we need to do with people on the ground? How come we're not doing the stuff that we as a government have prioritized to do? Because we're spending 2% of our overall operating budget on one prescription drug. 2% of the county's governmental operating budget. $1.6 million, close to 2%, on one prescription drug. I mean, at some point, you guys, we have to start thinking with some common sense here. And I'm just saying, we can do this for 1 year, but it is a financial cliff. And heed my warning when I'm saying this. 2 to 3 years from now, if this is increasing by 20 to 30%, it's not going to be 1.6 million. It's going to be 2.5 million, 3 million. At what point do we say enough is enough? And I think this board has to make that determination.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I'll just agree with that sentiment. I do not think this is a permanent solution. We do need to help the employees make the transition. We do need to explore if we have more creative options to get them to a more cost-effective way to interact with the medication. And I would also entertain that maybe to support this, we need to consider a minor adjustment to the fringe rate. We reduced that fringe rate down. And, we can tweak that a bit at the margins as well to ensure that we have sustainability. I see Commissioner Ray, and then I have Commissioner Gisler. Commissioner Ray.
Yeah, briefly, I just want to say that I agree with the Vice Chair.
Commissioner Gisler.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree. Now that we've backed down from 50% to 200 a month, knowing that that's a stopgap kind of thing, I'll support that. I would also have a question for you, Sharon. Do you take this GLP-1 stuff forever? Or do you ever lose enough weight that you're off it anymore?
I am not a doctor, but what I will tell you is that I know that some doctors do approach this and tell folks they should plan to be taking it for a lifetime. They may be able to get off of it, but I am not a doctor. And so what I know is that there are people, I have heard stories, right? I know people who have taken them and then stopped taking them. Some of them are fine. Some of them have gained their weight back. I know other people who've been taking them for years. From the testimonials that we got, you'll see that there are some stories in there of folks who have been on them for some time, other folks who are just getting started. And I think that goes to the question about the volatility of the market, is I think that they're new enough that we still don't have good data about how long folks will be on them. I trust that there's lots of information that happened before they went to the market in the FDA approval process, but in terms of the long-term impact in the general population, I think we're still learning that together.
Thank you.
All right. With that, Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Wheeler? Commissioner DeLue?
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer?
Yes.
Commissioner Morales? Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Chair Strebbs?
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. All right. Okay, discussion of proposed updates to policy 13, request for proposal evaluation policy. And we will welcome forward purchasing manager Victoria Barbosa. Welcome, Victoria. Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to know that it's 6:16 before we start another 30-minute presentation. Yeah, just so you know.
Would it be the commissioner's preference to take recess at this time? Vice Chair.
I apologize to this board. I've had about an hour and a half, and this is very important to me, near and dear to me. And I've only had about an hour and a half. I've got this information on Friday. I've researched it a little bit. We didn't have an agenda setting meeting this week. I'm so sorry, Director Barboza. But if we could table this for 2 more weeks so that I can be better prepared.
Vice Chair, would you like to make a motion to table to a date certain?
With complete apologies to our purchasing director, I would like.
Good.
Okay, I would like to table this to our next county commissioner meeting.
Support.
Who is our support? I'm sorry. Thank you. Motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Ray. Table discussion of our request for proposal evaluation policy and to our next committee of the whole meeting in 2 weeks. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify, I'm sorry, Commissioner Gissler.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I hate to find myself agreeing with the Vice Chair so often tonight. That makes me feel very uncomfortable, but yes.
You're still doing it right. Just look at the way you dress. You're just fine. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That we have extended our agenda and we are expended our agenda. We're adjourned.